you are eating clean, exercising, getting sleep, maybe even taking supplements. But something still feels off. You are forgetting things more often. Focus is harder. You are tired, but not sleepy. You feel foggy, distracted, and emotionally flat. And no one has given you a clear explanation why. What if the missing link is not a mindset issue, but a micronutrient issue? And what if that nutrient is one of the most overlooked yet essential for optimal brain function? Iron. Iron deficiency is not just a concern for children or people with anemia. It is shockingly common among women of all ages, especially during reproductive years. And it has profound effects on how your brain functions. We are talking about memory, attention, mental clarity, and emotional regulation, all tied directly to your body's iron levels. In this video, we are going to explore the neuroscience of iron, why it is essential for your brain, how low levels cause cognitive decline, and why women are disproportionately affected. Most importantly, I will give you clear, science-based strategies to optimize your iron status and rebuild your cognitive power without guesswork. Iron is not just about fatigue. It is about oxygen delivery, neurotransmitter synthesis, and synaptic communication. Without it, the brain cannot function efficiently. You might still be breathing, but your neurons are starving. Why are so many women suffering from low iron without realizing it? Why do symptoms like depression, brain fog, ADHD, like behaviors, and low motivation often stem from suboptimal iron? And why are standard blood tests failing to catch it in time? These are the questions we will unpack together with the clarity and structure you deserve. Because you cannot fix what you do not understand. And once you do understand it, you can change everything. Reflective question: when was the last time you checked your iron? Not just for anemia, but for optimal cognitive function. To understand why low iron impairs brain function, we must begin with iron actually does inside the brain. It is far more than just a blood mineral. Iron is a cofactor, a substance that enables enzymes to do their job. And in the brain, iron acts like a key for unlocking critical processes. First, iron is essential for oxygen transport. It is the main component of hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen from your lungs to your tissues, including the brain. Without enough iron, your brain cells become hypoxic, meaning they are underoxygenated. This impairs ATP production, the cellular energy your neurons need to fire, communicate, and adapt. Second, iron is directly involved in dopamine synthesis, the enzyme tyrosine hydroxylase, responsible for converting tyrosine into L-DOPA, the precursor to dopamine. Requires iron to function. Low iron, low dopamine. And low dopamine, poor focus, low motivation, and emotional blunting. Third, iron supports myelination, the process by which neurons are wrapped in a fatty sheath that increases the speed of electrical conduction. Myelin is essential for efficient thought processing and rapid cognitive performance. Children with low iron show measurable deficits in myelination, and these effects persist into adulthood if untreated. Fourth, iron influences BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the molecule that supports synaptic growth, learning, and memory. Low iron status impairs BDNF signaling, which slows learning and decreases neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and rewire. So when iron drops, you are not just physically tired. You are neurologically inefficient. Your brain begins to process slower, retrieve memories less effectively, and react more emotionally. What is dangerous here is that most people assume these symptoms are just stress or getting older, but they may actually be biological signals of nutrient depletion. Ask yourself do you ever feel like your brain is operating in low power mode even when you are doing all the right things? That could be iron. Now let us address the gender gap in iron-related brain dysfunction. Women are at significantly higher risk of low iron and often go undiagnosed for years. The main reason is menstrual blood loss. On average, women lose between 30 to 40 milliliters of blood per cycle. Over time, this creates a cumulative deficit, especially if the diet does not contain enough bioavailable iron to replace it. Additionally, hormonal fluctuations, especially estrogen and progesterone, affect iron metabolism and absorption. Estrogen can reduce the expression of hepcidin, the hormone that regulates iron absorption in the gut. Meanwhile, inflammation from endometriosis, PCOS, or autoimmune conditions can impair iron uptake, even if intake is high. Then there is pregnancy, which requires a dramatic increase in iron to support fetal brain development and maternal blood expansion. If that iron is not restored postpartum, women may suffer from lingering fatigue, depression, and cognitive changes for years. Unfortunately, many of these symptoms, like brain fog, low mood, difficulty concentrating, are written off as normal female experience, or they are misdiagnosed as depression or anxiety and treated with SSRIs instead of iron. Even standard labs can be misleading. A normal hemoglobin or ferritin result might not reflect optimal brain levels. Neuroscience suggests that ferritin, the iron storage protein, should be above 570 young L for cognitive benefits, even though most labs call anything above 12 normal. This means millions of women are walking around undiagnosed, cognitively depleted, and confused why nothing is working. Challenge: look back at your health history. Have you had periods of low energy, mental dullness, or emotional fragility after intense hormonal shifts? That is your sign. One of the most dangerous aspects of low iron is that it mimics, and often gets misdiagnosed as, common mental health disorders, especially in women. Let us start with anxiety. When your iron levels drop, your sympathetic nervous system becomes more reactive. You are more likely to experience heart palpitations, shortness of breath, and a racing mind. This mimics generalized anxiety disorder, but the root cause is neurological oxygen debt. Next is depression. Low iron reduces dopamine and serotonin signaling. It impairs neuroplasticity. The result: you feel emotionally flat, hopeless, low energy, and if you start to believe something is wrong with you. But again, this is biochemical, not personal. Then there is ADHD. Studies have shown that children and adults with ADHD symptoms often have significantly lower ferritin levels than those without. Why? Because dopamine regulation depends on iron. Without it, the brain cannot sustain attention or resist distraction. One paper published in the journal Pediatric Neurology showed that iron supplementation in iron-deficient children with ADHD improved symptoms significantly, even without stimulant medication. Similar effects have been observed in adults. The tragedy is that many individuals go on long-term psychiatric medications thinking their issue is psychological when the real issue is a micronutrient bottleneck. This is not to say all anxiety, depression, or focus issues are caused by iron. But in many cases, low iron is a multiplier, a silent saboteur that amplifies vulnerability. Ask yourself if you have been treated for mental health symptoms. Were your iron and ferritin levels ever tested? And if they were they evaluated for brain function, not just anemia? Before you can fix your iron status, you need to know how to measure it correctly. And this is where many well-meaning people, and even doctors, go wrong. The standard panel includes hemoglobin and hematocrit, which measure red blood cell concentration. These are useful for diagnosing anemia, but they are not sensitive enough to catch early or functional deficiencies, especially in the brain. The real key is to look at ferritin transferrin saturation and total iron binding capacity, ETBC. Ferritin reflects your stored iron. Optimal levels for brain health are generally above 70 ng/mL, though many labs consider anything above 12 as normal. A transferrin saturation tells you how much of your iron transport protein is actually carrying iron. Ideal levels are 30–40%. A TIBC shows your body's demand for iron. A high TIBC suggests deficiency. You also want to correlate these with symptoms, not just numbers. Do you feel mentally foggy, easily fatigued, and emotionally dull? Do you get dizzy standing up or have brittle nails or hair loss? These point to low iron even if your labs are in range. If you are menstruating, pregnant, vegan, or have a history of gut issues, you are at higher risk. Even athletic women who lose iron through sweat and impact need to watch closely. It is also important to repeat labs every 3 to 6 months while correcting deficiency. Iron stores can take time to rebuild, and both under and over supplementing carry risks. Reflective note: a lab value is not just a number. It is a lens into your brain's biochemical readiness. Make sure you are looking through the right one. Once a deficiency or suboptimal iron status is confirmed, the next step is replenishment. But this must be done carefully, with respect for absorption, timing, and individual variability. Start with dietary iron. There are 2 main types: choy, hemi-iron from animal sources like red meat. Liver, shellfish is absorbed at a rate of 15–35%. Non-heme iron from plant sources like lentils, spinach, and fortified grains is absorbed at only 20–20%. And absorption depends heavily on other nutrients. To enhance absorption, eat iron-rich foods with vitamin C like citrus or bell peppers. You avoid calcium-rich foods, tea, or coffee within 1 to 2 hours of iron intake as they inhibit absorption. Cooking in cast iron pans can also boost intake modestly, if diet alone is not enough. And often it is not. You may need to supplement. Ferrous sulfate is the most common, but can cause constipation. Alternatives include ferrous bisglycinate, heme iron polypeptide, and liposomal iron, which are gentler and well absorbed. Take iron on an empty stomach if tolerated, or with a small amount of food if needed. Do not take it with dairy, caffeine, or high-fiber foods. Most importantly, retest after 8-12 weeks. Iron stores rise slowly. You want to make sure you are progressing without overshooting, as too much iron can become inflammatory. Ask yourself, have you been trying to treat symptoms with habits or supplements that never worked? Because iron was the limiting factor all along. Correcting iron deficiency is only the first step. Long-term brain protection requires maintaining optimal iron levels over time, especially through hormonal transitions. That means watching your iron status J during pregnancy and postpartum X after discontinuing hormonal birth control during perimenopause and menopause. During periods of intense stress, athletic training, or weight loss, each of these phases affects iron metabolism, absorption, and loss, and each can quietly erode your brain's performance. What can you do? 1. Build your meals around iron-rich proteins. Grass-fed beef, eggs, oysters, liver, sardines. 2. Use herbs or supplements that support absorption, like vitamin C, B12, and folate. 3. Track your cycle and symptoms. If anxiety or fatigue rises premenstrually, test your ferritin and iron saturation every 6-12 months. 4. If plant-based, be extra diligent. Combine iron-rich foods with vitamin C. Monitor labs proactively. 5. Respect your gut health. Iron absorption happens in the small intestine. Heal the gut and you improve nutrient uptake. Most importantly, listen to your body. If your brain starts to feel slow, heavy, or unmotivated, check your iron before blaming your mindset. Challenge egg, what small changes could you make today to ensure your brain is no longer starved for this essential mineral? Let us close with a daily protocol, a science-based routine to optimize iron and protect brain performance long-term. 1. Morning of hydrate with water Su vitamin C, G, lemon water of eat a protein, rich breakfast eggs, grass-fed beef, or iron-fortified oats with berries. 2. Midday avoid caffeine within an hour of meals if iron deficient. Include a source of heme iron with lunch chicken liver, red meat, or salmon. Track symptoms in energy, focus, emotional sensitivity. 3. Evening of take iron supplement M if prescribed at least 2 hours after your last meal of avoid dairy, calcium, and high fiber foods with iron of wind down with NSDR or journaling. Stress impairs iron uptake. 4. Weekly a plan at least 23 iron-focused meals of check for signs of depletion hair loss, mood swings, dizziness of prioritize gut health fermented foods, bone broth, no ultra-processed foods. 5. Monthly track your cycle. If PMS symptoms are getting worse, check iron again. Reflect on cognitive clarity. Is your mind sharper or slower than last month? This is not about fear. It is about precision nutrition and nervous system alignment. Iron is foundational. Once restored, it amplifies everything else. Focus, mood, drive, memory. You are not lazy. You are not broken. Your brain might simply be missing the fuel it needs to perform, and that fuel is iron. For women especially, this is not optional. It is biological protection. Iron shapes how you think, feel, remember, and recover. And too many are suffering silently, treating symptoms instead of systems. You now have the knowledge, the strategy, and the tools. Use them. Reclaim your clarity. And do not settle for normal when you can optimize for brilliance. Final question: what is the first step you will take this week to support your brain through better iron balance? Comment below. Share this with someone who deserves answers. And if this helped you, subscribe so we can keep turning neuroscience into power. You can use